Battleship presents Famous Sinkings, September 9th, 1985. Fleet Commander Robbie Grant fires the shot that sinks his brother's destroyer. This glorious moment is remembered as the last time Robbie was allowed in Michael's room. December 22nd, 1985. Playing electronic Battleship, Admiral Harold Burns Jr. programs a devastating attack. Dad says,
"You sank my battleship!"
And history is made.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast Review of Battleship.
We're trapped out here. What we know right now is we can't target them unless we have a plain line of sight. Without radar, we have no way to track them, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so they can't see us and we can't see them, and we have no way to hit them from a safe distance.
There is a way.
Part of our board game movie retrospective series.
Nice one. It's a joke, right?
Hosted by Justin.
I didn't sign up for this bullshit! Yeah, no shit, dude!
Stuart.
You both think this is a joke, and you're very much mistaken.
And Arnie.
I got a bad feeling about this.
What kind of bad feeling?
Like we're gonna need a new planet. Kind of bad feeling.
But be warned, this episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and mildly objectionable language.
It appears the event is headed your way. Prepare yourself.
Roger that. How would you suggest that I prepare myself, sir?
Brace.
We hope you enjoy the show.
They ain't gonna sink this battleship, no way.
Hit it!
Today, we're discussing Battleship, starring Taylor Kitsch, Alexander Skarsgard, Rihanna, Brooklyn Decker, and Liam Neeson, directed by Shocker star Peter Berg. Mahalo, mother... This is Arnie, co-host of Now Playing.
And Stuart.
And I'm the idiot that's going to kick this review right through your face, Justin.
The antithesis, right? If Clue was everything right about adapting a board game into a movie, poor old Battleship, from word jump, was just jumped on and beaten on. How dare they? I think it's the movie that made them do that Tetris short. When we joked about Tetris would be about blocks from space crashing down on major cities, someone made that as a short. It feels like they were parroting this. Because why would you take a child's board game and throw this much money in it and then not even market to children?
Yeah, this is a movie that cost over $200 million to make. And let's face it as to why. Hasbro wants to be in pictures. This is something that actually has changed as of a press release that just came out, as Hasbro is now getting out of the motion picture industry. But that was after over a decade of failures in the motion picture industry, all spurred on by one singular success that was Michael Bay and Steven Spielberg helmed. So during that period where they're looking at bringing G.I. Joe in and not having much success, and Transformers movies kept coming out, yeah, let's go back to the board game. Let's make Battleship, which is a game I grew up with, knew very well, played all the time, and seems like a very good period piece to adapt. Make it a World War I movie or something.
Yeah, if it makes sense at all, yes. You're talking about a historical drama adventure, which again, doesn't sound like a kid's thing. I did not have this game. I, of course, have played it. It's a classic. Maybe I came over to your house, Arnie, and played it. But it was not as beloved in my household as Clue. And the thing about Clue is, Clue makes sense as a movie because it was based on Agatha Christie stories. You know, like it has a built-in story engine to it. What is Battleship but wild guesses, right? I mean, it's the idea that you're trying to figure out through calling out random points on a checkerboard where you think a person is until you've deduced it. But everyone has 5 ships? Is that the way it goes?
Yeah, of different sizes.
Yep, they changed over time, but the version I grew up playing had a carrier, you know, like an aircraft carrier that was 5 pegs long. You had a battleship, of course. The trademark line from all the commercials, "You sunk my battleship," that was 4 pieces.
Not in this movie.
No, the line is not. They talked about it, but they just ended up not putting it in. You had a cruiser, which was 3, a submarine, which was 3, and then I always remember the little dinky destroyer that had 2.
2. Yep. That's the hardest one to always find.
Right. That's, yeah, sinking the battleship makes sense. Sinking that little thing, that's the challenge.
You're right, Stuart. It's a game without a narrative, right? Like, it could be anything. You could be firing rocks over the fence trying to land on toadstools or something. I mean, it doesn't have to be battleships. So there's no narrative built in.
It doesn't even matter that they're ships.
Right.
It was kind of cool. In the electronic version, it would beep, right? Like, you couldn't lie, basically, you know, because sometimes you're like, meh, they hit it, but I don't have to say it, right?
Oh, those kids that moved their ships on you, cheaters.
But when you had an electronic, you couldn't cheat. They'd call you out.
What was funny about this, the thing I think that is the biggest legacy about Battleship is, if you guys remember the 1950s board game art, has a father and son playing Battleship, and the son is saying G4, and the father says it's a hit. Meanwhile, watching them happily play is mom and sister literally washing the dishes in the kitchen behind them.
Oh, what are we saying here? It's a game for the whole family. You wash the dishes and we'll play the game.
I never had the electronic version. I had the basic version a couple of times because with all those pegs and ships, especially the little destroyer, I'd lose it and have to buy the game again. And then I had a travel version, I remember, that I used to play with my sisters on the road. But yes, it's a bit more than guessing and a bit less than strategy when you have them and they could just be in an X and Y axis. But this is a game that was invented during World War I, and the first version of it was done in the 30s in the United States. It eventually was bought by other companies and became Milton Bradley and Hasbro. And it's a naval warfare game with ships that aren't used anymore, as this movie's going to call out, like battleships that have been retired.
Yes, if it's not historical, why are we still on the battleship?
Yeah, so to me, if I were just brought a check and Hasbro said, write me a script on Battleship, to me, World War II naval battle seems like your obvious go-to.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a submarine thing, you can do Das Boot, and bring in all of these cliches. Board game movies, by and large, aren't going to be the most original. The Battleship we've got here isn't the most original. It's certainly out of left field, but it's not original. So if I'm going to go cliche, I would go a cliche like with Clue. They went back to kind of when that game originated, and the house mystery is a thing that feels old-timey. I would take this and make it US versus Nazis shooting each other with missiles and having to guess where the enemy is. It seems like it writes itself.
You would have 100 different versions before you'd have the brainstorm, I guess, of let's make it aliens. That was the punchline. When the trailers for this came out, the guffawing instantly was, not only had they spent that much money to make Battleship the game into an event for the ages, but somehow they're working in space aliens that are going to fire pegs at you. Oh my God.
Well, I think about the time that this movie comes out, and we already have more serious takes around that, right? We already have Pearl Harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And we have, stuff like that where it's, I can see sitting around Hasbro saying, what are our IPs? What can we wrap a story around? And same time, Transformers is out, that's their property, but they want to do something big and splashy. So I can see them going this way, but it feels shoehorned from step one.
If they accept Transformers, they can accept Battleship. Is, I guess, an argument you can make.
It turned out to be a fallacy, but it is an argument that could have been made at the time. Because yes, this was a big start of summer movie opening mid-May 2012. I remember this movie coming out around the time of Avengers. Guess what? Avengers beat these battleships right into the ground.
Yes, Marvel sank your battleship.
But I had seen this movie before. It was late 2012, and Marjorie and I wanted to have a bad movie night. We fired up our laptops, and both on the Now Playing podcast Twitter feed, each of us were live tweeting our Battleship movie experience.
Oh, I didn't know that. I would have happily joined. I love bad movie nights. And this one has always been desired viewing. I've never seen it until this week, but I've always wanted to because I just knew it was ripe.
I would love to tell you about my theatrical experience with Battleship, but it took my son Tyler reminding me that we went to see this. I thought coming into this movie I had never seen it before, and Tyler's like, no, we went and saw that. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yes, we went and we made fun of it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, erase that right out of my brain.
Yeah, yeah. That doesn't surprise me that your mind would do things to protect yourself and make you forget. I think the human body is good that way. When trauma happens, the body can heal.
I mean, I've seen much worse, but holy cow, this is one that just completely got ejected.
And it was sold, right? Michael Bay producing the thing. It really did, with the ships kind of doing twists and all of that in this. You might, if you didn't catch the last part of it, really just think that it was a Transformers 3.
Yeah, I mean, from previews and just seeing TV commercials for it, it's got lots of explosions and some alien-looking guys in suits that I'm not sure were in commercials. But yeah, I mean, if you're not sure what you're going into, personally, I thought I was going in to see like a McHale's Navy type of thing. Maybe something kind of funny, something light. I didn't remember this being aliens at all. So that marketing didn't stick with me either.
Yeah.
And Stuart, you said Michael Bay produced. They may want you to think that Michael Bay had no part of this production.
Wow, really?
Really, this was done in parallel to his Transformers films. It was a Hasbro production, but this is Universal Pictures. And let's keep in mind, Transformers are over at Paramount.
Oh, good point. I saw no Platinum Dunes. You're right. I didn't. I thought I did, because it smelled like it so much.
It is really a wannabe Michael Bay film.
Wow.
From Peter Berg, an actor, director, writer, triple threat. I called out in the opening. We have reviewed his acting in Shocker. He was the lead of that film.
I mean, okay. Yeah. So he wasn't the guy in the electric chair doing all the funny stuff, but the teenager running around from the light sockets. Yeah. I won't hold him to that. We all did stupid things when we were teenagers.
He also acted a lot. Like, I looked him up, and that was one of 5 films he had come out that year. So Shocker did not slow down his career.
Yeah, I recognize him. He is like a character actor. I think, he has like a Bill Paxton kind of vibe. He wouldn't be leading man, but he's quirky and maybe funny. And he has a pretty notable directing career. I've not seen most of his work, but Friday Night Lights is beloved. Hancock made a lot of money. I did see Deepwater Horizon about the oil spill, and it was okay.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, Stuart. I recognize him mostly as an actor, too, and he's one of those guys that you find out is also directing. You're like, oh, okay, cool, that makes sense, but he has a recognizable face to your casual moviegoer.
Yeah, kind of a ratty, grungy, a little bit gruff about him.
Yeah.
And maybe his years of being in front of the camera, playing those roles, he got tired of it, wanted to expand. So you get stuck making the Battleship movie.
I've seen quite a few of his movies, actually. I saw his directorial debut, Very Bad Things, in theaters and really liked that movie. Jeremy Piven, Christian Slater.
Oh, yeah.
Never saw it. It was late in the kind of Tarantino game thing, yeah.
Cameron Diaz.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a star-studded event, and it's a messed up movie. Like, you think it's some guys going out to have some fun, and some bad things happen, and it just continues to get worse.
Yeah, I rewatched it not that long ago. It holds up. And then I saw, because I'm not a WWE guy, but The Rock was hosting SNL a lot in the early 2000s. And so I became a fan of him from SNL. And he and Stifler did a movie together called The Rundown in 2003.
Yeah.
And so I saw that one because, hey, Stifler's funny and The Rock was funny on SNL. And together they made a very bad movie.
But maybe these things aren't Peter Berg's fault. You take what you can when you're an actor trying to break into a new gig, and these are obviously projects no director wanted to make, so you can make them.
And then, yes, I also saw Deepwater Horizon, which I thought was kind of underwhelming. And from the trailers of that, I always thought that movie would be better with a kaiju. Like, if the Deepwater Horizon dug and a monster came out of the ocean, would have helped that movie.
Okay. I mean, it would be factually inaccurate, but more fun, yes. Undeniable.
And I think his most recent film is Spencer Confidential, the Marky Mark Spencer for Hire reboot that they did for Netflix.
No.
So I've seen quite a lot of it and didn't realize that this was the guy who did Battleship until I looked him up. And really, he seems to be Marky Mark's go-to guy. His last 5 films have all been with Mark Wahlberg.
I wonder if Peter Berg has like a little bit of a Ron Howard complex, you know? Is he out there like comparing his over to Ronnie's and not quite living up to it?
Not quite got the Oscar gilded.
Yeah.
Not as many hits for sure. The thing I noticed was the script comes to us again. And can you really blame these people when you're tasked to adapt this Battleship board game into a movie? Maybe it's not the writer's fault, but Joe and Eric Hober have made a lot of things we've seen, including both Meg movies, both Red movies, and that last Transformers where they were all metal gorillas and stuff. Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah, I mean, it could kind of be considered a power duo, right? Like the Meg was a big hit.
Yeah, we make big, flashy trash.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they're announcing. We'll take your high concept and put it right there in the crap. And maybe that's fun. I'm here to have a good time. I know what they've done, and I know that it's got space aliens, and I know it's got Rihanna. So I'm already laughing, and I'm hoping to have a good time as I sit down for this experience. Laughing maybe not in the same way I did with Clue, but laughing none the same.
My laughter sort of dried up. I've watched this movie 3 times for this review now, plus the picture-in-picture commentary. Behind the scenes, our recording got pushed a little bit on this, so I ended up watching it again yesterday so I could come into this really fresh. So I've been spending a lot of time on the John Paul Jones.
All right, well then you can give us the plot. You're really studied in it. There's a lot I don't understand. Maybe you can make sense of Battleship.
There's stuff that I'm going to be asking questions on, too. Part of the reasons I watched it twice last week was because I had to go back and be like, what exactly started this?
I only saw it once, and I got questioned.
Space aliens have arrived on Earth, with one of their spaceships colliding with a satellite, causing destruction when its debris rains down on Earth.
Bye, Hong Kong.
The remaining ships land near Hawaii during the International RIMPAC naval exercises. By the way, RIMPAC is a real thing that occurs every few years, making all of my rim job jokes on Twitter obsolete.
Hashtag RIMPAC.
Are they obsolete? I mean, it might still apply, right?
The aliens create a dome trapping 3 destroyers, 2 US and 1 Japanese, cutting them off from outside communication. A battle ensues with the aliens' advanced technology overwhelming our earthly weapons. The USS John Paul Jones becomes the last hope after the other ships are sunk, but the John Paul Jones captain and first officer were killed. Command falls to Alex Hopper, played by Taylor Kitsch, the slacker younger brother of fallen Commander Stone Hopper, played by Alexander Skarsgard. Forced to work with rival Japanese Captain Yugi Nagata, the crew uses weather buoys to track water displacement and destroy 2 of the alien ships. Meanwhile, Alex's girlfriend, Sam Shane, a physical therapist played by Brooklyn Decker, and double amputee Lieutenant Mick Canales, played by Gregory D. Gadsden, met up with scientist Cal Zapata, played by Hamish Linklater. They discover aliens outside the dome trying to call for reinforcements via satellite. With 4 hours until planetary alignment, the race is on. The John Paul Jones sinks 3 of the alien ships, but is destroyed by wheeled drones called shredders. Alex and the crew commandeered the decommissioned World War II battleship, the USS Missouri, along with its crew of retired naval officers. They destroy the alien shield generator. The John Paul Jones then fires its final missile to destroy the communication array, while planes led by Admiral Shane, Sam's father played by Liam Neeson, eliminate the mothership. With the aliens defeated, Alex earns the courage to ask for Sam's hand in marriage. The Admiral jokingly discusses Alex's surrender as credits roll to a scene in Scotland that teases aliens are still alive on Earth, setting up a sequel that will never happen.
Touch wood.
Yeah, although that's the movie I rather would have watched, right? Train Spotting fights aliens.
I just want to see the alien crawling out of the toilet.
Okay, well, thank you for that. It answers some, but not all, of the mysteries of this film that's going to start, again, if you didn't know, if you just heard, hey, they made Battleship, you come in to see the Battleship, The first thing we're getting is we're sending messages into space. There's no ignoring the fact that there is a Goldilocks planet, Planet G is what it's called, way off somewhere that's just like Earth in all of its amenities. And somehow we know all of this. We can't communicate with it without firing this high-tech beacon into space that's going to take a long time to get a response. But when we do, it's not going to be nice.
And a few things on this. First of all, they were quick to point out on the commentary, Goldilocks planet is actually a term used by NASA to try to find the planet that is not too far from the sun, not too close to the sun, but just right. They didn't make that up.
No, I get that. That's cute. Planet G feels a little bit slangy, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to find the G spot, right? That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I thought it was for my G's. Like, I thought it was like a gangsta planet.
Oh, okay. I thought that they were looking for the magic place.
Maybe. And anyway, they don't show it. I feel like this is the planet like where all the aliens are and they're mad and they're coming here to get us. They never knew about us. We told them to come here in their messaging.
Well, I'm not quite sure. We can discuss that. But yeah, it says in this opening text, we discovered the planet in 2005. And then in 2006, they built a transmission device 5 times more powerful than any before it so they could contact the planet. Now, first of all, I want to know what US funded project got done in 1 year.
1 year. Yeah. Based on what? A couple of satellite photos, and suddenly they get that accomplished in a year. That's amazing.
I mean, it would take 1 year just to get the funding bill.
Yeah, it was underwritten by AT&T or Verizon.
And then we get to see this beacon project. I understand they want to visualize for the youngest of audience members to say, hey, we sent a signal, but radio waves do not emit light. It looks like the Death Star is firing off into the depths of space here when they're sending a signal to an alien planet. It is overwrought CGI.
This is what I mean. Like, what do we send in this message to piss these people off? They might have a very valid reason for coming and kicking our ass or wanting to play Battleship or why ever they're here. It's not really totally clear what they're attempting to accomplish. But yes, it feels like we shot a laser at them or said, hey, it looks like you have our shit on your planet. We're coming for it. And they decided to have a preemptive strike.
I mean, it could be read as, miscommunication. Like maybe they're also looking for a new planet. I mean, this is not in the movie, so I'm giving it some credit, but
you're giving it everything. Yeah, we don't know these aliens.
Yeah, maybe they're looking. They just happen to be like, oh, these guys called us and they have the right type of planet. Let's go take it over.
And not to get too hung up on science, but since this movie doesn't ever try to explain shit, I am left saying to myself, radio transmissions cannot go faster than the speed of light, and this planet is many light years away, more than 6 light years away, more, according to the theory of relativity, no ship can go faster than the speed of light, so however long it took for the radio transmission to get there, and then these ships to get back. It is all a very compressed timetable. I would go with this if we discovered the signal, again, in World War II, we found the planet, and we sent the signal in the 50s. Maybe after the aliens crashed at Roswell or something, and then in the 21st century, the aliens have finally come to get us. But then it happened from 2005 to 2006 to 2012. The timeline of this was really upsetting.
Yeah, not to mention NASA is like crashing probes on Mars that are ruined. Like our space program is not doing well at this time. We're fighting a war on 2 fronts. Like, yeah, this could not have been an investment that any government in the world would have thought worthy. But it has opened up the problem of now we're getting the response, a rapid response of, 6 ships that are going to come flying at us, ready to do us harm.
Is it 6? I thought it was 5. I thought 5 ships is what comes and one of them crashes.
Yeah.
Well, I was counting the Scotland thing.
Oh, I thought that was part of the crash ship. I thought that was like some people in the crash lived.
Scotland is nowhere near Hong Kong.
Yeah, but they're coming down from space, so I figured like it broke apart over a lot of space.
It hit a satellite. I guess you're right. Perhaps it did. I didn't take it to mean that. I thought there was a secret sixth ship.
But that happens in 2012, but we do have a prologue that I think is also taking place in 2006. Now, an intertitle in this movie that says 6 years later would have been really, really helpful, because I was so confused on how we have a prologue with this Alex Hopper on his birthday, Taylor Kitsch's character, and then we have the title come up, and immediately he's now like third in command of a ship.
Yeah.
I didn't even grasp that time had passed when I watched this the first time.
Nope. In the movie's logic, it's literally like the next day and he's graduating as a naval officer. And it's like, what? Yes, 6 years later would be very helpful. You're putting everything else up on screen. We know every location. We know the name of every boat that we see. A little 6 years later would be very helpful.
Hey, bro, you're a real screw up. I'm going to make you enlist in the Navy.
Yeah, does that work like that?
Next day. You're doing great. I mean, okay. That says something about our armed forces, right? If that's how that works. I hope it's not true.
I mean, it's kind of a cliche, isn't it? Like going back to an officer and a gentleman and things like that. I got nowhere else to go. People who have nowhere else to go get discipline in the armed forces.
Yeah, and I don't want to take that away. I think that's a gift that for some people, they really do find a calling and a purpose. You could tell a good story about that if you wanted. You're starting on a hobbled foot with Taylor Kitsch, though. Can I just say that this poor man apparently was great on the TV version of Friday Night Lights, and every movie he's tried since then has been utter disaster, starting with John Carter from Mars. He was on the bad season of True Detective that everyone hated. He was Savages with Oliver Stone movie about the drug dealing and all of it. He was the unfortunate Gambit. He's the Gambit that makes you wish it was Channing Tatum in that outfit, but the one that was in the Wolverine movie. The first one?
X-Men Origins Wolverine, yes. I first became aware of him because he was one of the major people in Snakes on a Plane, which was like the first movie I reviewed as a podcast. And so I was paying attention to him there. He was a more minor character, but he was in that. And yeah, John Carter was the same year as Battleship.
Ouch.
It's TV for him. He's been doing some mini-series now and some more television. Friday Night Lights, like you had already mentioned, Peter Berg did that film Friday Night Lights, which is based off of a book written by like his second cousin. Peter Berg's second cousin or somebody wrote it.
Oh, so real in the family mission then, this Friday Night Lights. Okay.
And then Peter Berg went on to be executive producer of the television series. And so he really liked Kitsch in that TV series. He also was a fan of Taylor Kitsch's interplay with Jesse Plemons, who's in this movie. And Jesse Plemons was also in Friday Night Lights.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Weird. I didn't discover him until later and in more serious works. It was a real surprise to see him skinny and in this film.
So you don't know him from Breaking Bad then?
I never watched Breaking Bad, no, but he does do a lot of little art movies. Fargo, he was in a good season of that TV show. And yeah, I think of him as sort of when Philip Seymour Hoffman died, he was the heir apparent.
Yeah. Well, apparently he put on quite a bit of weight for a role a few years back. And it was funny because after Breaking Bad finished up, he was skinny in that show. And then they filmed El Camino, which they didn't film till like 5 years after the show wrapped up. And he had still had the weight on. So this is a direct sequel the next day of Breaking Bad. So if you watch them back to back, it's like, whoa, what happened to...
You had a bad night, sir. Anyway, my point is, these are people that have talent. I'm not here to knock down bowling pins. I'm sure that they can deliver in the right scenario. But yes, just knowing that Taylor Kitsch is bringing the kitsch in a movie full of kitsch. There's so much kitsch in this movie, the actor's named after it. And it's just this whole thing about trying to get a frozen burrito to impress a girl is basiness. Again, this is why I thought Michael Bay produced the movie, was like, this is what I'd expect to see Wiki doing.
Yeah, absolutely. This really feels like a Sam Witwicky move when he's hitting on this really attractive girl who was a model before she was an actress, Brooklyn Decker. And to impress her, she wants a burrito. The bar is out of burritos. He goes to 7-Eleven. The 7-Eleven clerk tells him there's too many complex carbs in a burrito, so I'm going to close and lock the door anyway.
I thought they were 24-hour places, but okay. Yeah, you're closed for the night. Most people would accept that as a done. Not him. He's going to break into the Pink Panther theme, no less, and try to steal this burrito.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they actually played the Pink Panther theme, and he left a couple bucks on the counter for the burrito. He's not a thief, but I'm like, he needs to leave a blank check because he's crashing in the ceiling and destroying displays and all of that.
Well, this is also, they're filming kind of a funny homage to a pretty viral video from back in the day of a guy who broke into a store and fell through the roof.
Oh.
And as he's trying to get out, and he fell through again, and it was all caught on CCTV.
Ah, okay.
And this is kind of a remake of that funny meme.
Got you, sir. Yeah. Viral videos, I've missed them all. I just want you to know my knowledge of what people take for granted as internet lore is very small. So, okay, that makes sense that everyone in 2012 would know what they're referencing here. It just seems absurd and not setting up this character or the film. I mean, I know what they're trying to do. You want to meet cute. You want to have it be funny. And I guess it does work sometimes. For some people, must in these Transformer movies, but it just feels like a really stupid scene from Rise of the Fallen.
I think anything they're setting up with the characters here doesn't need to be 6 years in the past.
Right.
All of this could have been established in modern day without making it confusingly 6 years ago.
Yeah, he's already in the Navy. Just help the movie. We don't need to have him find himself and do all of this other stuff.
But this also introduces us to the co-star, Alexander Skarsgard. Part of the reason that I even decided to turn this on in 2012 is because I was actually interested in seeing Eric from True Blood and Gambit from X-Men Origins Wolverine fight together in the Navy. I don't know that I've ever seen Alexander Skarsgard do anything other than True Blood as well as I know he can. He keeps coming up in our reviews, like in Godzilla vs. Kong, and I keep saying I like this guy, like the redo of The Stand from 2020, and I'm always his biggest advocate, and yet he always seems to let me down unless he's Eric in True Blood.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like Taylor Kitsch, right? If you saw Friday Night Lights, you'd like him, and if you saw anything else, you'd be like, why are they giving this guy money? Yes, they don't have much time to have brother chemistry. Again, this is another thing. Why set all this up about brother, I'm going to put you in the Navy and all of this, then they're not even on the same ship. I guess it's a way of setting up someone important that you can kill, kind of like fridging your wife. They're trying to give Taylor a reason to get mad at the aliens later.
Except he never does he? I mean, honestly, we'll talk about it, but it never becomes a revenge mission for Alex. Alex never sheds a tear. Alex never seems to hold anything. What we're seeing here is a contrast of styles. From the very beginning, Stone, the Skarsgård character, is very buttoned up, very regulation, very military.
Like Stone itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then Alex, as we see here at the beginning, very loosey-goosey, kind of lackadaisical.
Anything for a burrito.
Yep. Stone says, you need to use your birthday wish for a job. And Alex is like, no, I'm going to use my birthday wish for that hottie. And so, yes, at the end, Stone is just like, you are enlisting in the Navy tomorrow.
And he gets the hottie. When we jump ahead, somehow this burrito trick worked. Even though if a man gave you a burrito and you watched him be tased on the lawn, maybe you'd give him a pity date, but I wouldn't have given that relationship 4 years or whatever it's been.
I think 6. I think what's happening is this whole prologue is happening in 06 when they send that message in 06, because we spend some time with scientists in 06.
Yeah, okay.
So I think all of the rest of this is in 06. It took me 3 watchings to piece together the frickin' timeline, so understand.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
And the music, they're playing Billy Squires and Stone Temple Pilots, so that's not helping me place a period.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Right.
But I'll be honest, I wouldn't have caught it. You tell me that these things are battleships. I believe that they're battleships. I don't come from a Navy family. I wouldn't know. But yes, I guess it is a hurdle that they're selling a movie that doesn't have the vehicle that they're talking about. There's only one. There's this, and I didn't see it coming, that this retired Missouri battleship is archaic. It's beyond its prime. We're going to cut to Oahu, and Liam Neeson is giving speeches off of it, and it's really treated like a museum. And the things that are going to go out in this rim pack thing are actually destroyers. We're going to have Alex explain to a little kid touring the old boat that destroyers are like Terminator, battleships are dinosaurs.
And it really hit me because when we get to this rim pack stuff, it's the soccer cup final. So I'm just like,
it's their first day.
Yeah, it's the rim pack games.
Which are military when we go out seafaring. I don't know what exactly the drills would be, but it's them doing Navy stuff on boats and seeing who does that stuff better. But I guess as an icebreaker, they're having all these different nations play soccer together. No surprise that USA sucks, right? Why wouldn't Japan be winning? But I guess we're supposed to blame Taylor Kitsch for why they don't at least get a point.
Yeah, I wondered the first time I saw this if it's in bad taste that the USA loses to Japan in Hawaii.
I didn't even... Pearl Harbor was not on my mind.
Oh, Pearl Harbor was heavily on my mind in this. Completely in the fact that we have a Japanese ship in Hawaii during this and Japanese and American people coming together. It feels like this is very Pearl Harbor shadowed. Like they're making up for Pearl Harbor. I really do think that the soccer game is a metaphor for Pearl Harbor where the Japanese beat the US and now we see the two of them come together to fight a bigger bad, the aliens.
Yeah, this soccer game is giving me some palpitations, man. Like, I don't know if this is a production problem or what, but half of both teams are wearing uniforms that are matching and have names and numbers like a real soccer team. Then half the people are running around in t-shirts and they're on the field. It's like, that's not the way sports work.
I noticed that with Rihanna. Like, Rihanna was too cool to wear the uniform. She was wearing like a torn neck t-shirt or something. I didn't notice it on the Japanese side, but I definitely noticed Rihanna was playing soccer and not wearing the uniform.
Yeah, that was confusing. Like, is she in the game? Is she on the sideline? What is going on?
What is going on is they're trying to establish Alex. And I've heard a lot of different things in rapid succession. I heard he's a screw up that breaks into convenience stores to get frozen burritos for babes. Now I'm hearing he cost them the game because even though he was like kicked in the face, he gets the penalty kick. Is the Japanese guy like, was that a bad move? Was he not supposed to do that? Or was that just an accident?
This was his pride. He should have said, I got kicked in the face, let another teammate take this penalty kick.
Right.
But because of his pride, he's like, no, I'm going to take this penalty kick because I'm the best. And then he doesn't even come anywhere close. It is a complete whiff of a penalty kick.
And yet they're all here to do Navy things. So, like, does this game really matter that much? I mean, I get it. Some people can go apoplectic on the smallest of details, but it just seems to me like this was just an icebreaker. And now it turns into this thing where they are beating each other in the bathroom. And Alex is now going to be thrown out of the military. I didn't know he even joined 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, they're treating the soccer game so weird. Like, it's bigger than the World Cup, but it's just an intramural, like you say, icebreaker, friendly game.
Yeah, we're just supposed to go out and do some stuff in the water, right? Like what we're doing here on the lawn, not important.
And it's this scene that introduces us to Liam Neeson, who I remember him retiring from filmmaking in 2000. So how's he in this film in 2012? But he never really retired, but he said he was going to.
Yeah, he looks like he's retired.
He has a very specific set of skills, and it's being in a movie for one day of shooting.
He is mad to be here, right? Like, this gruffness is not character. This is the actor being like, why did I agree to do this? I don't want to be doing this. Talk about having no fun. You give him the line, right? He's going to get the close-up that says, you put in the trailer, you sank my battleship, right? He's got to be the one to do that. I can't believe they don't make him do that.
Yeah, it's really unusual. He was in the behind-the-scenes featurettes. He deigned to do interviews with the publicity crew, and he talked about what a big deal it was for an Irish man to stand on a U.S. battleship or aircraft carrier and have all the troops salute. He acted like it was an emotional moment for him to do this film.
Oh, okay. Well, look at you doing acting right there for the cameras behind the scenes. This is meaningful for me. I'm in tears on the set of Battleship.
And it's so confusing because, yeah, we see Alex gets in a fist fight with Captain Yugi Nagata in the bathroom on the aircraft carrier. And so this is what's going to get Alex drummed out of the Navy. But here, the Admiral, Shane, Liam Neeson, tries to one-up Alex by quoting Homer, and Alex quotes him first. And I'm like, losers can quote Homer? I don't understand. This guy's well read now?
Yeah, this is the thing that's, I think, supposed to make him complicated, was that even though he's the screw up, he knows the art of war. He's bookish. He's well read. And so he can quote, Lao Tzu and all these like military strategy manuals. And maybe that makes him fit for being in the Navy. They needed to work on this characterization. It's supposed to be an ongoing joke that he's trying to work up the courage to ask this man for the daughter's hand in marriage because the woman that got the burrito is Liam Neeson's daughter. Aren't you supposed to do that before the girl knows you're getting married? Like, they're already agreed that they're married. Like, they're on the beach saying, we're doing this.
And apparently they've been dating for 6 years. It shouldn't be a surprise to Liam Neeson at this point, right? Same dude for half a decade.
Right.
I think it's still for those who do the asking of the father, and I did not. It's more of a formality and a way of showing respect. I mean, you ask the woman first, usually, but then before you announce it publicly, you go to the father and say, can I have your daughter's hand in marriage?
You asked the woman first? Really? That's the procedure?
Well, I mean, depending on when we're going back to. If we're really talking where the tradition started, it was more of a transactional thing. Like, I would like your daughter, 30 shekels, please, and, move on from there. But
right. Yeah. Dad says yes, so then I can ask. If the daughter's already said yes and dad says no, I believe that's called a middle finger.
Yeah.
We're going to Vegas then.
I get what they're going for here. It's a traditional thing, like Arnie said, and he's a button-up military general, so yeah.
Sure. I get all the kind of calculations. They wanted it to be zany and the burrito, and I get all that they're doing, but it's a real Basie mess. And Peter Berg there's less TNA, I will say that, than Michael Bay, but I don't feel like there's much more organization or sense of command in his direction here.
Oh, agree completely. The difference between a shot from Berg in Battleship and a shot from Bay in Transformers is, does the woman have baby oil on her body?
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be the major difference I'm seeing between these two. Even in the soundtrack, I mean, yes, Bay went with more modern bands with Transformers, but now here, Peter Berg's going to plug in some AC/DC, Hard as a Rock, one of their later songs, while we see this montage of them getting ready for the rim pack exercises. I mean, I don't equate AC/DC with the Navy. I guess the Village People's a little too trite, but we get these exercises going on here. Aircraft carrier Ronald Reagan and the destroyer, the Samson, commanded by Stone, and the destroyer, the John Paul Jones. I don't even know after 3 watchings who the captain is, because it seems like Alex is giving all the orders. They call Alex a combination between Mike Tyson and Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to say. I was very confused. I thought he was commanding this ship because they're drawing parallels between his brother playing by the rules and him, apparently being tyrannical enough for Rihanna to make those quips under her breath. But he's actually got a supervisor that's really running the ship. We just never see. His bosses are never there. I don't think that there's anyone playing them. We're just told later they died. That was when I was like, wait, he wasn't already running the ship? He's finding out now that he's running the ship after they're dead?
Right.
This is the kind of bad detail work that a director really needs to be on their game for, or you just start to get more and more confusion. That stuff accumulates and you can drown in it if you're not careful. And I'm feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, if we had somebody who was more versed in military hierarchy on the show, they could probably explain it to us. Maybe Berg just thought that people know, but like the way I took it is that Alex was in command of the weapons room on that ship. He was the one deciding if they were going to fire weapons or whatnot, but there was an actual commander or captain up top. But like you said, we don't see him, and if we do, we're flashing between 3 and 4 ships. I'm not sure who's where and on what ship and what's happening.
Yeah. Part of the problem is they're trying to follow 3-act structure, which means that by the 15-minute mark, you want to get the real movie going. All of this, what we've been talking about, is setup, and now we need to have the aliens crashing and getting to playing the battleship and all of that. So maybe these details in a longer cut that I would not want to watch are cleaned up. But again, it is the director's responsibility to visually tell us the information we need and make us feel like we like and want to go forward into the story. I'm not feeling that.
We also still in the setup get if you don't know where this movie's going, and the first time I watched it, I obviously didn't, I really was blindsided when we go into this side story about Sam. It turns out she has a career. She's a physical therapist for wounded warriors, and we get to see her giving a motivational speech to a double amputee who's really down on himself because he's only known how to be an army officer. And I'm taking this as just a little bit of a tip of the hat, salute our soldiers kind of thing the first time I watch it. I don't think these are going to be characters in the movie. I think this is a way to honor soldiers and look at Gregory Dmitri Gadsden was a real colonel in the U.S. Army who lost his legs due to a landmine. So I thought this was just a nice shout out. I had no idea these two and their little mountain walk was going to be an entire subplot.
I knew once they went hiking, it was going to be more than this. I thought, yes, you need the girlfriend something to do. And if you're not going to slather her in baby oil and have her doing car washes or whatever, I guess it's nice that she's helping out the vets. Except she's so bad at her job. Here's this man saying, I'm only half a man and my dog Mustard is dead, and opening himself up. And she's taking personal phone calls. She's calling her boyfriend and like having a side conversation. I'm like, how dismissive.
It also feels like Berg's trying to find a little bit of a style in these earlier scenes here. I mean, we're getting some really unnecessary, extreme close-ups on these characters. Like, for a minute there, in that soldier, we are, like, zoomed in from his nose to his eyebrows while she's telling him what a great man he is. It's like, okay, but we don't need to be up his nose for this shot. A standard shot of his head would be fine for this.
Yeah, I feel like, again, this is why I thought Michael Bay did this, because Michael Bay, in those Transformers movies, he was so pro-military that he would give them storylines where none were needed. And it does feel like, yes, we're just wanting to feature and champion vets. Nice, good cause. Doesn't feel like it fits in this movie. And yes, the interplay between their adventure, hiking in the mountains, and the battle games that get hijacked by the aliens. Again, I'm not sure who could make this work, but here it comes. 15 minutes in, 5 UFOs are detected. One of them hits the satellite in entry, and thus it's in pieces in Hong Kong and Scotland, apparently, while the others are landing in the Pacific Ocean.
I have a lot of questions about these aliens as we're going through this movie. The first is, are they just bad drivers? I mean, they came to Earth from far away. They're obviously technologically superior. They have mastered interplanetary spaceflight. They come here and boom, oops, hit a satellite dish, killed 20% of our own ships.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only that, but we put all our communication devices in that ship, so now none of us can say anything to the homeworld. It reminds me of like M. Night, like Signs, about the aliens come down here, they don't like water, and so they're like, okay, Earth's perfect, even though like most of the surface is water, and they put up crop circles as if the aliens back home can see that. Like, you set up these aliens to fail. If you sent them on a mission to respond to this call, and then one one device to call back home with that's in pieces in Hong Kong. So now, again, they're not conquering anything. They're not even turning around and going back home, which, again, it would only take 5 years. They're going to play Battleship in the Pacific Ocean. Why not? Of course.
And this movie, man, it takes a dark turn, right? Like, up until this point, it's kind of fun and whatnot, but, like, immediately we're told 25,000 casualties on the ground of civilians in Hong Kong. I'm sitting here wondering, real world, like, at this time, was Hasbro fighting with the manufacturing facility in Hong Kong over something at this time? And, like, take that, Hong Kong.
Maybe China didn't want to take this movie, and so they felt like they could destroy Hong Kong.
I don't understand this scene at all, because suddenly we're in a disaster movie. I'm like, I guess 11 years later, we can have flying things crash into skyscrapers so long as it's not on U.S. soil, and watch a skyscraper get cut in half. And I mean, that should be cheap to fix if you just have it made in China. But it was just a shocking scene of human death that never is mirrored in this film in any way.
No, but also kind of gross if you think about it too, because I feel like the film is saying, hey, American audiences, look how terrible this is, but you don't have to care. That's not American lives, right?
Yeah, I definitely think that yes, if they had done that anywhere in the States, yeah, if that was New York, I don't know. We do like our disaster porn. I do feel like the movies are very good at, and we have given our money for watching epic destruction. But it feels like, again, what movie am I watching that we have this bit and then are never going to go back to Hong Kong again?
Yeah, narratively, wouldn't it make sense if China joined the fight at the end to help win the final battle?
Yeah, right. Instead, it's about Japan and not China, and I don't know what's going on.
I can't decide if this scene would help with release in China. It was released in China, where it made almost as much money as it made in the States. It made $50 million in China. It made $65 million stateside. So maybe the Chinese just like to feel included. And so as long as we have some Chinese landmarks and Chinese people, even if they're just body count, it helps us get into that country. But it's a really weird scene. And the fact that these aliens, they just, it's not like it was an intentional destruction of Earth. It was their ship crashed and they accidentally killed 25,000 humans.
Yeah, they're bad drivers, and they stacked all of their abilities to do their mission in the ship that gone boom. So they're looking bad.
And then they land in Hawaii, where Rimpak is.
Sort of. Underwater, where sharks are.
Yeah.
I mean, did they bring naval ships? Is that why they land in the water?
I don't know. And then why is one sticking up? Everyone's going to be so mad that Alex drives out there and puts his hand on it. But what else are you supposed to do? I thought he was in command. Isn't this what he was sent out in the speedboat to go do? And then why does it activate them like they were just going to sit there until someone touched it?
Right. Well, and also, it's going to electrocute him, but he's been walking on it the whole time in water. Like, that should have fried him right there.
My thing is, and when I watched this movie the second time, I was really paying attention to this. I want to know what the aliens want. And I think the aliens just came here to say hi, and what happens is a huge misunderstanding.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think that they came and we crashed and killed 25,000 people, which put all of us humans on edge.
Right.
And then they land in the water. They don't do anything. They just sit there. And so we, the humans, send Taylor Kitsch out there.
Yeah, always a bad idea.
And he touches their ship with the palm of his hand, getting some kind of electrical shock. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So then they respond not with an attack, but they put up a dome. I guess they just read that Stephen King book, Under the Dome, and decided this is the way to go. We're going to sequester this whole area under a shield that goes deep underwater, and planes can't come or anything like that. Then Alexander Skarsgard on his ship says, let's fire a warning shot at them. So Alexander Skarsgard fires the first actual weapon during this.
First they blow their horns. They blow a warning horn, and the aliens respond with some supersonic thing that knocks everybody down, and that's when we fire.
Yeah, breaks all the windows.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about their sonic window-breaking weapon that maybe they were just playing a sound, though. I don't really know what these aliens want, but it's not until Stone fires the weapon that the aliens then finally... We see alien POV. We get to see many times in this movie their heads-up displays that show threat assessment and how things are green, and then when they start shooting, they turn red. And so I think when Stone fired his warning shot, his ship turned red on the aliens, and they're like, oh, crap, we came just to say hi, now they're shooting at us, let's shoot back.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I won't say you're wrong. I will say it's really weird that, yes, they create a protective shield, but the military is inside that shield, so they could still attack. To me, creating the shield is them creating the board game. We now have a playable area, and indeed, that's what it becomes.
To a degree, that is, and it also is a way to lessen the number of days Liam Neeson has to shoot on the film because he's outside the dome.
Yes. Oh, he's way outside this dome. He does not want anything to do. I thought he was the star of the movie. So my shock is really about how marginalized he's. I mean, he's gone for like the next hour.
Yeah. When he shows back up, I forgot he was there.
Correct.
Although, did you notice as this dome is coming up, did you notice who's playing his assistant?
Yeah, Rami Malek.
It's not just that. I mean, Turtle, if you watched Entourage, is also running around on one of these ships. Like, it's weird that you see people you recognize and think, oh, they're going to come back. And then, like, I guess that was it. They were either not big enough stars or their subplots got cut. But I couldn't keep track. Again, because of the scattered direction, I have no real sense about between the different ships and who's where and what's going on. But yes, I definitely know Rami Malek's eyes. Anytime I see those bug eyes, he's unmistakable.
Yeah, this was one of like his first acting roles. It was just a job, and now he's Oscar winner Rami Malek.
Yeah.
But back then, it was, I hope I get another job, Rami Malek.
Need for Speed. We would see him probably the next year in the racing movie, getting naked.
If I'm going to give this movie credit for one thing, you're right, Stuart. This does set up the board game, right? Now we have a concealed area with X amount of ships on each side. That is your setup for Battleship. Okay, cool. What are we going to do with this?
Then they start firing pegs, and I'm like, oh my God, they're really going to do that.
A little too literal.
They're really going to have pegs like land on the battleship, just like the game. I'm like, that is just too much, man. I can't even believe that they thought that they could dramatize gameplay to this level.
At least they weren't red and white like in the game. You know, they kind of...
Yeah, they tried to make it cool. You're right. They tried to make it like alien tech. But in the end, it's a peg. I know what you're doing.
And that's exactly what they were doing. They wanted it to be a nod to the game, but it does look a little bit silly, especially when it lands on the ship and doesn't explode immediately, and you get that shot from somebody on the deck.
How much do they need to do that? How much do we need to simulate a board game play in a movie based on a board game? To me, I think you could just leave all that behind, right? We know it's set around battleships. That's enough. We don't need to do anything more than that.
I mean, you have to think at least some part of the plan is to sell more toys off the shelf, right?
I guess so.
So you want kids walking out of this theater saying, Mom, I want the new Battleship game with the alien ships. And, you know, some 8-year-old somewhere's going to think it's cool that the bombs look like they did in the movie.
I don't know. I don't feel like this is skewing young enough. Another weird choice is like these are all 30-year-old men and older that are going to go get some grandpas later at the end. But Rihanna is their only bid for youth appeal.
True.
They want this to be forgotten. But yes, obviously you would want to push that this would be the new way to play Battleship. One person would be the aliens, one person would be the Navy.
The old parts, right? Like they only had to half update it.
Yeah, I didn't know they actually made this a board game. Shame on them for not pushing it harder. I mean, I was going to see Hasbro every year at Toy Fair at that time, and while I wasn't paying the most attention to Battleship, I thought I'd remember if aliens were in it.
Yeah, no, but it is a marketing fail because, Arnie, at that time, both you and I were in and out of toy aisles all the time, and I have no recollection of that game being around.
But my sense is, again, that kids would not be following this, would not be enjoying this, that it's a little too adult, ironically. I mean, it's not sophisticated, but it feels like all the characters are old. And yeah, Alexander Skarsgard's now blown out of the picture as well. Enough pegs land on the Samson that I guess it's supposed to be emotionally moving for his brother to realize he's now going to have to rally on his own.
I feel like Alex was more emotional about being told he's being kicked out of the Navy than he was about his brother being blown up in front of him.
Yes. More emotional about the burrito than he was about the brother.
Yeah, I knew Stone's ship was going to go down, and I thought that that would mean Alex had to search for him or falsely mourn him, but we'd find out Alexander Skarsgard is alive because he's second billed in this movie. Now, we're 45 minutes in the film, so it takes a long time to get to this first battle. A long time. That first 45 minutes really drags. But now that we're at this battle, I can't believe Alexander Skarsgard is taken out so quickly. Now, in hindsight, it makes sense that this movie is all about Alex becoming a man and learning responsibility and becoming respectable. And so to do that, you have to take away his admiral, you have to take away his older brother, you have to take away the captain and first officer of the John Paul Jones that we never saw.
Kill everyone and make him do everything, and because he read Art of War. Yeah, oof. There's other ways of doing it, Arnie. I wanted to emphasize that's the way they've chosen to show his stepping into manhood, but it's a lazy way, right?
I just thought we would see more motivation or just any response at all that his older brother is dead. You know, just some kind of acknowledgement that his older brother is dead. Maybe we get that when he gets back to his ship, because remember, he was just on a little tugboat because he got shocked by the mothership. But he gets back to his boat and they tell him, you're in charge now. And of course, it takes him a minute to realize what that means. And somebody has to say, sir, give me an order. Tell me what to do. And his order is attack. Let's go. Maybe it's because he's angry and wants to avenge Stone that he's so riled up. But then the Japanese ship, which we don't get any time on really, it also sank. You know, we spent quite a bit of time with Stone. We didn't spend much time with Nagata, but his ship sank too, and Alex has to make a choice. Do we go get the Japanese out of the water? Do we rescue the Japanese in Pearl Harbor? Or do we attack the aliens? And maybe it's because Stone is dead that he rescues the Japanese?
No, that didn't occur to me. If anything, he's reluctant to want to help the guy that kicked him in the face during a soccer match. And they're going to hold on to that beef for way more than it's worth throughout this movie.
It also looks like, you know, maybe it was a learning experience, but it never comes back, because I thought that they figured out that since they got out of an attack position and decided to go help the other guys, the alien battleship stood down. Like, did they not notice that they put their weapons away after they turned away from ramming them? But that never comes back. Like, oh, maybe they aren't attacking us. Maybe they're just defending themselves.
It's really hard to know what they want. And yeah, these guys don't seem very smart. So it's both.
And then the aliens are going to do the most insane thing of this entire movie, and that's really saying something.
Mm-hmm.
They shoot wheel blades, which I think look like General Grievous's wheel bike from Revenge of the Sith. They shoot these wheel things on the commentary. They call them shredders, and the shredders get to go outside the dome. I don't know why they get to go outside the dome.
Right.
Yeah.
But they go outside the dome and go to a Little League game.
No. First they destroy a military base. That makes some kind of sense. All right, you're going to stop being attacked. Then they go to the freeway and the Little League game.
Yeah, and make decisions on individual bases. You know, one pulls up in front of that kid and assesses he's not a threat, and then goes on and, okay, so maybe they don't want to kill indiscriminately. Oh, nope, they want to knock out the entire freeway and kill way more people by knocking them out of their vehicles.
Yes!
What do the aliens want is a really important thing to answer anytime you have an alien invasion movie, right? We want to know that. There needs to be a motive. We need to have some kind of understanding about, obviously they're threatening, but what is it that they're hoping to get? And yeah, this is the scene that tells you you'll never know, right? We'll never know what they want.
Yeah, I specifically think exactly what Justin said. When they do not fire on the John Paul Jones, the aliens have the John Paul Jones in its sight, and like Justin said, they did not shoot.
Because they stopped ramming them.
But then they fire these shredders and just destroy a freeway and cause wanton destruction. I'm like, I need to know their motivation and at least what they're trying to do. What do these aliens want? Obviously, there's thought processes going on. I mean, it sensed the heart rate of the little kid and left him alone, but attacked cars with innocent people.
Yeah, killed dozens, if not hundreds of people, but decided they won't kill children because we want children to be watching this movie. I'm convinced they go to the Little League because kids, are like fidgeting and wondering when someone their own age is going to be on screen. The huge mistake that you make a Battleship movie and do not find a child to put into the storyline. Obviously, you do that. You make a child a part of the hero team. I don't know how you do that in this scenario, but that Little League kid should have wound up doing something.
You could have had kids on the mountain and his girlfriend and, they team up there.
There you go. That stupid mountain thing. Yeah, I love the fact that a deputy... roads are being ripped apart, the naval base is on flames, wheels are flying, and the deputy's first and only response is to drive up the mountain and tell two hikers, "What are you doing here? You need to go back down."
And say, "We need you off the mountain now." How? Where? You're not giving them a ride?
Yeah, he leaves them. Why do you care what they're doing? Why do you know that they're there? Well, do you just avoiding your real job, which would be trying to stop these spinning yo-yos from going through your freeways?
Well, and also, leave your Jeep here, ride with us. What are you doing? What is happening here?
Yeah, it's hilarious.
But the aliens have come to the mountain, and we start seeing them walk around, and they're like Transformers and Cylons and Predators.
Halo.
And I thought a little bit about the engineers from Prometheus.
That didn't occur to me. But yeah, they have cool armor and we can't quite see them yet. They're trying to hold on that. And so, yeah, they find this deputy and they beat him out of his car. And again, they'll play cat and mouse games later. They got to give the physical therapist something to do. So she's trying to get keys or something like that. But the aliens get scared away by deer or something.
Was it horses?
It was horses.
Yeah, there was a scene where they're scanning a horse and for some reason it's like going through the bioscan and it sees the skeletal and muscle tissue and then like an icon of a horseshoe pops up. It's like, I don't understand what is happening.
I don't know what's going on, but I love it. I'm just going to say right now, this movie is living down to every bad idea I thought that it would. It's just incredibly stupid.
And in a third storyline that never really goes anywhere, we are going to spend some time with the Secretary of Defense, Peter McNichol, who I primarily know from Ally McBeal, but I think the world primarily knows from Ghostbusters 2, because the world will belong to him and Vigo.
He was also in Sophie's Choice. For what it's worth, he used to be a dramatic actor.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's far away from that now.
I always thought he was a comedian.
Well, I can understand that confusion.
There's some funny scenes between this little side plot that they got going on. The nerds on the ground that are stationed at the communications array. This is way back at the beginning, but, they're on the phone with the guy who created the program, and they're like, well, we should get NASA. NASA's on the phone. He turns around, there's a whole room of NASA guys. It's like, well, does the Air Force know? The Air Force is on the phone, too. And that was a pretty good sight gag.
Yeah, Cal has been the cynic this whole time. When they were first putting up the beacons, they're like, this is going to be like the cowboys and the Indians, and the aliens are the cowboys. Like, he's never bought into it, but he never got another job. And so now the day has come, as he knew it would, that alien yo-yos are ripping through the islands, and mech guys are storming through his tiny little satellite station. And yeah, he's screaming that they're killing his interns. And yeah, I guess he's the comic relief, right? Like, he's the guy that's here for the funny. This movie could use some of that. Intentional comedy, that is. Risky joke that when he sees the amputee, he thinks he's a robot cyborg as well.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so now we're getting a little bit of motivation for the aliens. Like, now they're trying to use our technology to send communications back. So that's why this area is important.
They're so stupid about not having phones on every vehicle that, yes, they're relying on the people that sent them the message that made them mad in the first place. They'll figure out how our devices work. Okay.
Yeah, just plug and play.
Yeah, I guess so.
But since they did a little bit of clarity there with what aliens might want, they also need to confuse it and get it cloudy again, because when he goes back into the hut to get a device, I can't even remember what the device was, some sort of communications device, he runs into an alien that's just like, okay, go on. I'm not going to attack you.
Yeah, this whole thing about Cal, like, meeting up with the others, and they decide that they could talk into the bubble, but only because something's in the suitcase. He's got to go back. And then, like, runs straight into one of these soldiers who doesn't want to hurt him, or because he wears glasses, doesn't think he's a threat. I really don't know what happens in the scene.
To me, these aliens are like Ed 209 in RoboCop, where if you have a gun in your hand and you're pointing it at them, you are deemed a threat and they will kill you. But if you are unarmed, you are deemed passive and you're allowed to continue. And because Cal has to get this MacGuffin, which will allow Sam to talk to Alex inside the bubble, it's the magic device that can communicate through the bubble for a brief period.
Yeah, only for a little bit, only for a second, so they can tell them, blow up these satellite bases.
Yeah, so that is what they're going after. Meanwhile, aliens have landed on the John Paul Jones.
Not quite. What I heard was they just fished one out of the water. I don't know why. They never took any hit that knocked the aliens out of their ship, but they just dragged this body onto the deck, and everyone's standing around looking at it and pull off the visor and playing with his goatee or what have you. And then, yes, his friends come and reclaim him. And now it's a cat and mouse.
Yeah, which one is the one that goes down in the engine room and the big guy starts beating him up with a wrench before Rihanna blows his head off?
That was one that stayed behind. Like, after they picked up their friend and they took off, they said that there was an announcement that there's more on the ship.
Okay.
Yeah, people started getting yanked up. It was almost like they were invisible or something. Like, people just start getting yanked up onto the deck, and they're just implying that there's this alien attack going on above deck, and it becomes Alex's job to run through the ship and lead one dude into the right there at point blank range to the cannon, so that, yes, Rihanna can deliver the line you delivered, Arnie. You gotta love it, right?
Only it's PG-13, so much like in the later Die Hard films where it's yippee-ki-yay, mother boom, here it's mahalo, mother boom.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed. I know Rihanna's no actress. I was kind of hoping she'd play the alien. I was kind of hoping she'd do a whole musical dance sequence with like her alien chick friends or something. I had different aspirations for her. For her to try to be this hardass and Vasquez or whatever she thinks she's doing, is not using her limited skills as an actress.
No, and she really gives it a good try, though. Like, while that alien's on the crate below deck, she has some sort of speech about how her father was always talking about...
Yes! Her father knew this day would come. No one cares.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go sing Umbrella, please. Thanks.
Yeah, Rihanna is not a good actress. Fortunately, this is not a good film, so it's not like it's showing her up.
Mm-mm.
But I do recall her as being also one of the weak links in Ocean's 8, where she was one of the 8.
Yeah. She has a unmemorable bit in Valerian, too, if you've seen that oddball sci-fi movie.
She's pretty good in the Shy Ronnie skits with Andy Samberg.
Obviously, she has charisma, but the challenge for any musical artist is to find the right role, and this is not it. I don't know who her agent was, but they really failed her, saying this is the script to do.
Yeah, it was big budget.
Yeah, you need to sing, you need to show that part of you. You don't need to pretend you're in Top Gun or Cuba Gooding Jr. in Pearl Harbor and fire all these guns. It's just stupid.
And then we get another glimpse of the world. They're going to reappropriate some footage of Obama. So they're definitely going to place this at a moment in time as Obama is talking about the situation in Hawaii. And it's starting to be night. And now we're finally, and we're like an hour and 15 into the movie, and we're finally going to get the Battleship game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to do it, right? I mean, I recognize you got to find a creative, narrative-driven way to have people looking at sonars, detecting where the threat is. I didn't think it had to be like this, but yes, this hopping ship, it's like hopping like a leapfrog. The kids are trying to find them because of buoy water displacement. I accept it. That works for the most part.
It's funny to me that it is coming from Nagata. They rescued Nagata, and he's a captain, and Alex is not. He is a commander. And so Nagata is like saying, we've been tracking American ships this way for a long time. Why are the Japanese still tracking our ships?
And we all know that the Japanese military has been under the thumb of the U.S. military for all of this time. Because of Pearl Harbor, they were not allowed to be able to do any of that, but whatever. It gives them something to do, and I think it's important that they try to have this East versus West. You just wish these things were better. Yeah, I see what you're trying to do. I know you're wanting to create the idea that Alex finally works as a team, right? He should have worked as a teammate in the soccer game, and this is his way of showing deference and listening to others, is by letting this guy help them play Battleship in the middle of the ocean with these hopping alien ships.
I was just upset that they didn't at least call out like E5 for grids as to where they were firing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be too on the nose? Like, it's just now everyone is just laughing. Again, how are you not laughing that they made this Battleship game, this toy, into this movie?
And like Justin had said earlier, also, the aliens are cheating. The alien ships are still moving. So it's not like you're trying to fire and see, did I have a hit? And then I know I fire in that area. And the Navy's cheating too, because Nagata gets to fire at 2 ships on 1 turn. If you're going to base it off the game, just base it off the game. And here's the thing, this stuff wouldn't be in my mind if this wasn't the title of the film.
Right.
But this is a Battleship adaptation, so I'm always thinking about the game. So everything you do that's not in the game, like not even having a battleship yet, is really on my mind.
I didn't notice that it wasn't a battleship. They were on a ship. They were firing at other ships. It counts in my book.
I mean, we're in a situation where it is for the game and it's in a movie, so military strategy should be part of this. And outside of just kind of guessing because of buoys moving around, there should have been some sort of, like Arnie said, turn-based thing where it's like they fire and like, oh, it's a hit. Okay, then they fire and miss. And so now we're trying to figure out, we're trying to coordinate where they are with a couple hits and misses, just like in the game.
Yeah, it's one thing to do the game, and I don't know that watching people play Battleship is that exciting.
It is for the wife and daughter.
Yes, maybe if I were doing dishes, I could really get into it. I'll try that next time. But I do feel like this movie's just not visually, technically. These moments aren't directed in a way that are exciting. There's no suspense. It's just not pulling me in as an action movie.
No, it's not. It's leaving me very cold, but they do sink 2 of the alien ships here, and then the third one is too smart. It isn't going to follow the same pattern, but thank God we have Jesse Plemons and his pet lizard.
Oh, dear God. Again, I can't believe Michael Bay wasn't involved in this when he's naming his pet lizard and the aliens having the same eyes and all of that. This just is so witwicky.
And, all right, I'm just going to say it. What Jesse Plemons realizes is he took his pet lizard to the beach and the lizard didn't like it because the lizard's eyes didn't like the sun. And because the lizard's eyes looked like the alien eyes, the aliens don't like the sun. I'm just going to point out they come from Earth, the Goldilocks planet.
Yeah.
It's just like us.
Mm-hmm.
So is it all too bright? Did they fail at evolution?
Right. Yeah. Why is this so hard for you? And again, why are you going to send a message to come here and do whatever? Who even knows what they'll do when they conquer?
Well, and why shoehorn in a fact about lizards that I don't think is even true? Like, aren't lizards known for sunning themselves on rocks? I mean...
Yes!
Yeah. They're cold-blooded, yes. Maybe they don't stare into the sun, but neither do we. So Plemons also does put on one of their helmets, and I think he realizes it's like sunglasses, and so maybe that helps you buy into this concept. All I know is suddenly Taylor Kitsch is pronouncing that The Art of War, a Japanese wartime manual written hundreds of years before.
Chinese! Alex got it wrong too. Alex can quote Art of War and can quote Homer, but doesn't know Art of War is Chinese, not Japanese.
No, I didn't know that. But okay. At any rate, the point is somehow that tiny little book speaks to a strategy in which you lure the space aliens to the rising sun and some reef of rocks and then let them have it by shooting out their windows.
Yeah, the whole point is if you shoot the windows, they're going to be blinded by the sun and then can't see when we fire their missiles to shoot back at us.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So everyone hide in your tanning booth and you'll be okay.
This is really bad. I'm sorry, but
it's funny.
This is like the worst plan.
It is really funny. And then we have like a genuine Titanic moment because their ship gets ripped up by more of those yo-yos, shredders, whatever you're calling them. And they have this whole thing with the Japanese guy and Alex are like Rose and Jack, like running up as the ship is tilting up. And
yes.
Yeah, just, oh my.
I was really thinking about Titanic. I was like, why did they run in that direction when you could just jump off the boat? It's not like they're in the Titanic waters that are going to freeze them. They're in Hawaii. They will be perfectly fine and have a nice swim. We saw the Japanese got fished out of the water earlier. The water will not hurt you. But no, we're going to do the Titanic top-down shot as the John Paul Jones goes down like a tie hooker.
Yeah, they're all sunk. The point is that every ship that was participating within inside this bubble is ruined, right? They're inside a bubble, right?
Yes.
Yep.
So the bubble is now also extending over the old battleship as well. Why, if you were going to make a protective layer around yourself, would you make it so big?
Yeah.
Why do it at all?
Again, I thought it was for protection. So these people are trying to fire on us. By your theory, they meant no harm. So you wrap yourself in protective gear, no harm, no foul. You have now created a bubble so large that there are all of these. Maybe Liam Neeson can't get to you, but certainly there are people on Oahu that can. And suddenly, like, they have access to the Mighty Mo, the Missouri battleship. It's now an actual battleship and piloted by all the Pearl Harbor veterans, which again, it's so cheesy. It's so kitschy. The only way that they could make it any more Michael Bay is if one of these old geezers like baked an apple pie and like presented it in a flag. Like, it is so over the top that they're having the veterans come back to run the old ship.
Yeah, I mean, I get what the movie's doing. It's the greatest generation against the aliens. But this film didn't earn it. It's blatant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're having the old guys teach Taylor Kitsch something new, like our old ways are the better ways, and let me tell you about the way we did it in World War II and teach you from our experience. No, instead, it's just a montage of geriatrics to the second AC/DC song in the film.
Yes. More AC/DC. We all love it. This is just hilarious. Like, this movie was funded by the U.S. Navy and AC/DC. I don't understand.
And I just don't get, as you say, Stuart, if you're trying to appeal to a teenage audience, why do you have a whole bunch of octotarians?
Yeah, they keep getting older and older. Again, you could have figured out a way to have a kid sneak aboard a ship. You could have done it. Or on the hiking trail.
Maybe they're taking the age thing from the box too literally. They always put ages 4 to 99. And that was the demographic they were trying to hit with this movie.
Again, I think they would have had more success with this. It's so silly. You really had to make it more of a kid's film, or at least have a kid buy-in with a kid character.
Here's the problem. Much like Michael Bay, Peter Berg is too earnest with his love of the military.
Yes, yes.
He'd been working with the military on an individual script before he got the Battleship gig.
No doubt.
He'd go on to work with the military in other films. They were really filming with U.S. Navy cooperation on real U.S. Navy ships.
Which again was the whole Transformers thing. Michael Bay did that. That's part of how he was able to cut costs on those Transformers movies.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I get exactly the motivation and the intent is good, but the result is ridiculous. I mean, when you get these old guys, first of all, being sexist to Rihanna, are you ready to play with the big boys? And then saying a second mother boom in this movie. And the closest we're going to get to You Sunk My Battleship is an old guy saying, they ain't gonna sink this battleship, no way.
Yeah, they didn't do it right. That's for sure. Not using your best elements wisely. Yeah, poor Rihanna.
Shouldn't these old guys just be hanging out at a VFW somewhere? Like, why are they still, like, working at a museum at this age?
They came to be honored. The whole thing at the beginning of Rimpak.
Right.
Liam Neeson was standing up there and saying, we honor the last surviving World War II people here who served on the Missouri back in the day. The fact that they're still all on the boat in their outfits.
Yes. Did they leave them there? Like, nobody came for their wheelchairs? Like,
they were waiting for the van.
Yes, they'd be the first ones in the bar down the street. They would not be still at this ship. This is ridiculous. Everything's ridiculous.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't touched on, which is also ridiculous, are the aliens when they finally take off their helmets. They look like bad CGI walruses with Scott Ian beards.
I'm not sure I know what that means, but I agree. If that means stupid, I agree with you. They look stupid.
I mean, the ILM people put a lot of work into it. They're like, well, these aren't beards, these are quills, and they're made out of the same material that human fingernails are. And I'm like, no, they just look like they're the lead singer of Anthrax.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I mean, I will give them some credit here. I mean, they didn't go over the top. Like, they are humanoid because they were told they come from a very similar planet as ours. So they have 2 eyes and 2 nostrils. They're just slightly off. If you would have met that guy on the street, you'd be like, what was wrong with that guy? But they are human looking. But the quills give them away, I would say.
Yeah, I would say in most neighborhoods they wouldn't fit in. They would have some problems. But yeah, we finally are getting a good look at them because the amputee and the physical therapist, for their climax, they're going to drive up to the satellites to try and stop them from transmitting. And it's going to turn into some punching match, some rock'em sock'em thing. And we're going to have, alien versus amputee.
Yeah, because at the beginning, we had Kanala saying he felt like half a warrior. And now here he is, he's going to go into a fist fight with an alien and box him and knock out his teeth in a very bad CGI slow-mo shot.
Yeah. I get you have to give them something to do if you're going to do this at all. But yeah, then they have the nerd run out with that suitcase again, and that's the finishing move. Clowning.
And then once again, getting real nonchalant in between funny little things here. The nerd's partner didn't make it. He was killed by the aliens for no reason. I mean, it doesn't heighten the thrills at all.
Right. Nor is he that upset about it. But yes, it's so light. We're not to care when people die. Even when it's major stars we thought we were here to see for the whole movie. And it's hilarious to me also that Alex is treating this battleship like a speedboat. He can just go super fast. And everyone's like, hold on to your hats. It's a battleship. I mean, and then he can throw down the anchor and like brake and avoid all the pegs that are going to fly where they were supposed to be feet away. It's just, I mean, come on. I don't need realism. I get that this is supposed to be a fun time, but this is just stupid compounding stupid.
And they take out the final alien ship here, but I guess the mothership, which is the shield generator ship, is still there, or does it drop the shield at this point? I couldn't quite follow why it drops the shield.
I don't know what anyone is doing. The Navy is, I thought, trying to shoot out the satellites, but in the end, I feel like they're trying to bring down the dome so that Liam Neeson can shoot out the satellite.
No, the satellites, I had the same problem on my first watch, which is why I watched it the second time before our first scheduled recording, is because I'm like, wait, who did what at the end? Did Liam Neeson save the day?
Right, he did not.
No, there is one last missile that is on the Mighty Mo that they have to like hand carry around the ship to load so that when the shield is down, the Mighty Mo can blow up all the satellite dishes, and fingers crossed that his fiance isn't on that mountain.
Right. Do they need to do that? Really?
Yeah, they did, because it killed the aliens and stopped them from sending the message. Whatever message it is, it might just be, hey, these humans are assholes, don't come here.
Cancel the party. Cancel the party.
There's like something floating up into space, some satellite. Couldn't they just turn that off and like not blow up half the island here? I just like so much of this. Like breaking into a convenience store and getting a frozen burrito instead of just approaching a girl and asking her out.
But then the mothership is sinking, but as a last move, it fires some of those shredders at the Mighty Mo. And this is where Liam Neeson comes in because the shield is down. He can finally order the planes in. They can shoot down the shredders and save the battleship from being sunk. And I guess they blow up the rest of the mothership too, because there's more explosions in the water.
Yeah, it's really done very badly. Even if you turned off your brain and just said, I'm accepting all stupidity, just entertain me. I just think you can't follow what's going on. No one has a cheer moment. Nobody gets that woo woo, like they're wooing. Everyone's wooing. Everyone's jumping up, but you're not wooing because you don't know what anyone did. I think Rihanna held the door open while a bunch of people carried a missile down the hallway. But yeah, what happened to that missile and who did what afterwards, I could not tell you.
And Sam just drove a car away. I mean...
Yeah, they just crashed a car. I'm not sure how that stopped anything.
They crashed the car into a satellite dish to prevent it from sending a signal.
That shouldn't work, I would think.
Well, it broke the dish.
Bad engineers.
One of several dishes, right? I mean...
Yes, right.
Yeah, really, it's progressive to even give women a role in this movie that is better than Megan Fox's in Transformers. It's regressive what these women actually do in the film.
Yeah, I agree. That's why it's Peter Berg and not Michael Bay, is that the women are not sexually subservient.
And yet they're not afraid of showing some of Brooklyn Decker in a tight t-shirt for a lot of the movie.
Agreed. Again, they want the Transformers audience. They're just not doing it as well as Transformers. And boy, is that saying a lot.
Yes, it is. But then to end the movie, they're going to give medals. Liam Neeson is going to say, there's too many people who were heroes, so I'm just going to give medals to the important ones. He literally says like that kind of line, like there's too many people to honor, so here's the ones that are above the others.
And one of them is Alex, but he's still not wanting him to marry into his family, and I don't blame him.
And, I'm sorry, Obama was on TV saying about this thing in Hawaii, if I save the earth, Obama better show up, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. He's from Hawaii. I mean, this is ridiculous.
So yes, and then Sam finally pushes Alex to ask Liam Neeson to marry his daughter. And let me just say, I know a lot of people are excited this year because there's a new Naked Gun movie coming out. And Leslie Nielsen is replaced by Liam Neeson.
What?
It's now Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson in Naked Gun, and I just hope that in the 13 years since Battleship came out, Liam Neeson has learned to do better comedy than this end here where he tells Alex no means no, I'm gonna go have a chicken burrito, because these lines thud harder than a destroyer at the bottom of the harbor.
Oof.
And nobody's wanting the Scottish movie, by the way. Please, we don't even need to talk about it. But why Scotland? Why did you even think that was like the Loch Ness Monster going to get involved? Like, how could you have Battleship there?
Yeah, that was a strange tag.
It is a long one, too. Like, kids find the ship and try to break in, and then local Ronnie comes around, and Jimmy has a chainsaw and says he's getting in, and then we see an alien hand pop out. Well, we just killed a bunch of the aliens. Without their ships, I'm not that worried. It's not like they're a virus or something. This isn't War of the Worlds here. I don't know why one survivor is a threat. Is he going to grab a telephone and finally phone home?
He was the only one who brought a cell phone with him. He can call back.
So Justin, Stewart, did they sink this battleship? Justin.
Well, I think it's telling that apparently I saw this movie in theaters when it came out and had no memory of it. And sitting here going over it again, it's clear why, because it's just a mess. It's a high budget mess, and that makes it a little bit disappointing because, you know, you had the budget for special effects, you had the budget for ASCAP to get all the music you wanted because you had some pump up music in the right places. And it really shouldn't be that hard to just emulate movies like this that have come before. Armageddon, you know, try to do that. Try to do Independence Day. These things have been done. Just emulate that, but you're not trying to break any new ground here, obviously. So I think the biggest sin this movie has, outside of not knowing where it's going, is not having a charismatic lead. What all those other movies had was a Will Smith that no matter how stupid the story might have got, you had a personality on screen that you could latch on to and follow through this exciting movie that at least looks good. But we don't have that. Everybody in this movie is just kind of blah. And therefore, the whole movie's just kind of blah. And it starts off, like Stuart said, with a guy breaking into a convenience store to get a chicken burrito. And I think that's a good analogy for this whole movie. It's pointless. It's going to leave you with indigestion. And in the morning, you're not going to remember that you did it. So I can't recommend this movie unless you want to test your amnesia and see if you can watch it and forget it too.
Just to the amnesia point, I have to admit, I remembered a few things about this movie, but not enough. And I reread all my tweets and had all these flashbacks of, oh God, that happened before I rewatched the movie. But I had similar amnesia. It's not just you. I just remembered that I did watch it, but not what I saw. Stuart.
Look, I only watched this thing once, but I thought it was a hoot. I thought, again, for a bad movie, this thing delivers a megaton of stupid. It's so much more stupider and thus more fun than the Transformers movie, in part because it's just married to this game in ways that don't support the bloat, right? Like, you've sunk so much money into trying to sell pegs going into ships, and you've brought down space aliens, and Rihanna is here, and box office poison Taylor Kitsch is here. Liam Neeson is not here, but we were told he would be. It's just hilarious to me what a shambles this thing is. They don't even say the line. Again, the one thing you had to do, you sink my battleship. And they didn't do it. I don't know. Did they think that would be too much on top of the space aliens? I don't know. But yes, like all bad movies, it tends to get a little tedious in the end. It's not like you're going to be laughing the whole time. But I love that this thing exists. It's a parody of Hollywood thinking. Somebody thought this was a good idea. Somebody thought that this is what the world wanted. And they sank all this money into it. And the world looked and shrugged and said, yeah, we know that game. No, thank you. I don't want this. Not my Transformers. And I agree. It is not Transformers. And that's why if you like making fun of Transformers, I recommend you give this one a look.
Yeah, I don't remember much about my first watch of Battleship, but I do remember the trailers struck me as a blatant attempt to mimic the success of another Hasbro property, Transformers, and so I had little interest in watching it. But you know what I've heard about this film, and I heard it in 2012, and it's still being said today, that this movie is the movie to own, back then in Blu-ray, now in 4K, because of its technological achievements. And if you have a home theater and you want to calibrate your projector and test your speakers and really get a dynamic range of audio and a vivid picture and really push your system, this is the movie to do it.
Yeah, bloop, bloop, bleep, bleep all over the place. Okay.
And, you know, hearing that back then about how visually great it was for home theaters, and then you put Liam Neeson and Taylor Kitsch and Alexander Skarsgard, I decided to give this a shot. And my memories of that first watch is that it was really awful, and my memories were right.
Yeah. I don't know how you could make the case that they did this right, other than, I guess, they put pegs in ships.
Yeah, I mean, this validated my worst fears, which I've said before, every time Transformers breaks a box office record, my fear is that studios are going to take that as Transformers movies good, make more Transformers movies, and have a wave of imitators that prioritize chaotic, shallow storytelling in an attempt to capture and get money from that audience. And predictably, Battleship falls short of that mark in every way. I mean, this movie is worse than Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. This is lifeless characters you can't connect with, alien antagonists whose actions lack any discernible logic, and a bloated runtime that leans heavily on a nostalgic soundtrack of 80s and 90s rock hits to evoke emotion rather than earning it through storytelling. You know I'm in a bad boat when I'm wishing Michael Bay was the captain to make the movie better.
Yeah.
This battleship hit an iceberg named Peterberg.
Yeah, it did.
To appropriate a quote from this movie, I'm not saying Peter Berg is a boob, but this is boobish filmmaking. Mm-hmm. And anyone picking this up as a reference disc to test your home theaters, I beg you, find another movie. It's been 13 years since this came out. Ready Player One. Come on, something else.
No, nothing has ever surpassed this, Arnie. You'll never get better boops and beeps. It's the best boop beep movie ever.
Do not reward this movie in any way. I beg of you, don't buy it on 4K. Nothing here earns your money. I'll say this. The effects of the ships look good. The shredders look good. But the aliens look like trash, so I can't even fully endorse its visuals. But everything but the aliens looks good. And I love the soundtrack. I own every song on the soundtrack. Fortunate Son, Thunderstruck. I mean, Hard as a Rock. Yeah, I like these songs. But everything else about this movie, from the performances to the effects to the barely there story, I hate. I really think this is one of the worst movies we've reviewed. But because it has a huge budget, people won't look at this with the same hateful eye as Alone in the Dark 2. But I really think this is as bad as Alone in the Dark 2. It is the absolute strongest of not recommends.
I think you're going to mark it as a green arrow, but I think people heard I'm brown arrowing this. My recommend is for exactly the reasons you just said. It is so bad. Again, the whole idea of it, again, it doesn't get any better than that somebody thought that this toy was a franchise and that they believed in it this much to push this concept. What's next? Connect 4? Like Chutes and Ladders? Pin the Tail on the Donkey? Like some things do not lend themselves to $200 million franchise films.
Listen, I said in our book that Clue will be the best until they make a Hungry Hungry Hippos movie, because that movie would rock. But without that, I don't know of any other board games that make sense.
Okay, Hungry Hungry Hippos. Hadn't thought about that one. Why are they so hungry? You're right. There's questions there. It's a movie in that.
I mean, now that Hasbro's hung up the ghost and is no longer trying to make the movies, I almost wouldn't mind a documentary with a tell-all finding out, like, exactly how much they put on directors as far as, like, this, and this all have to be in the movie, and how much they were handcuffed.
Oh, almost nothing for this one. I mean, I saw the behind the scenes, and you'd think if there was one thing, it would be You Sunk My Battleship.
Right.
Yeah.
But really, it was Peter Berg and the effects people all like, how can we pay homage to this? And how can we work a battleship into it? Because we're calling it Battleship. But it did not seem like there were harsh restrictions put on. Like, if you're going to do this, the way Parker Brothers said with Clue, oh, we don't want any bad language and we don't want any bloody death. It had to be PG. Here, it seems like Hasbro was just like, go.
Oh.
Do whatever. We don't know what to do with it either. And again, yeah, I want to know all the other properties they had and how far in development they got with like the Slinky and what have you. Like, yeah, what could it possibly be to turn your toy chest into $200-300 million movies? Just a bad idea.
You could go really meta. I mean, you could have like a Walter Mitty-like film and just call it The Game of Life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure someone had to write that script. Again, these were people's jobs. And again, I'm not going to knock Peter Berg for what I'm sure he's directed. I know he did. I saw that Deepwater Horizon. He can do something better than this. You are sunk when you are directing this, when you're directing a child's toy and trying to make it sense for an entirely adult audience. You're just sunk. We're taking a break from board games. You know, we don't have to have this debate next week. But this Friday, we are stepping away from the ocean, but we're still doing war games because that is the kickoff to our gold level hacker films, where we're exploring the history of hacking and computer geekery in the movies.
Yep, this Friday, for gold level patrons and donors, we're doing War Games, the Matthew Broderick, Dabney Coleman team-up film where they avert nuclear destruction.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's a real plot. Dabney Coleman, Matthew Broderick, nuclear war.
And then next week, we'll be talking about Sneakers, the Robert Redford, James Earl Jones, River Phoenix, Ben Kingsley movie about hackers.
Yeah, all those people definitely know their way around an Apple IIe, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
And then we'll be doing some more fun ones for gold level. The Net, Hackers, Antitrust, Swordfish, Black Hat, and Snowden. I think the fun ratio goes down, but the reality ratio goes up as we go through this list.
Yeah, it's good to throw a couple, Hollywood sometimes gets it right, or at least tries to get it right. Yes, the internet is trying to kill Sandra Bullock for one film, but yeah, hacking is a real thing, and security is a genuine debate worth having in the movies. I'm interested to watch the latter ones just because they might actually end up being good films. And these early ones, some of them should be good comedies.
So that's all for donors and patrons at $25 or more. Every penny goes to keep this show going. You can find out how to support us at nowplayingpodcast.com/donate. And we hope you hack into our website. Well, really, we just hope you log into the website and donate. Don't hack the site.
No, please don't hack us. Yeah, that would be very bad.
Arnie leaves his passwords on his desk.
Mm-hmm. And again, we will be back. I guess it's a board game. Ouija Board had 2 films, but first we got to do some Marvel. This weekend, Captain America is back, and it's a Brave New World with Anthony Mackie, and I guess Harrison Ford as Red Hulk.
Yep, so that'll be this coming Tuesday. Week after that, Stephen King with The Monkey, and then back to board games in March. So thank you for listening to Now Playing. Thank you for your support of our show. Justin, Stewart, thank you for joining me. Now it's time to pick up the pieces and go home.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm late for lunch. I think I'll have a chicken burrito.
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review.
It was an honor serving with you, Captain.
The honor was mine.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
Enjoy these naval exercises, Hopper. They're likely to be your last.
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
You're saying that we sent out a signal and we got back an alien response.
Want more reviews like this one? In the archives section of NowPlayingPodcast.com, you'll find more than 1,000 in-depth movie reviews from our panel of hosts.
Are you ready to play with the big boys?
On our site, you can hear reviews for every installment in the world's biggest film franchises, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, James Bond, Middle-earth, Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, and Transformers.
Very good movies.
Plus, we have individual movie reviews, such as Titanic, E.T., Inception, Big Hero 6, Ready Player One, Pulp Fiction, Apocalypse Now, Dr. Strangelove, and hundreds more.
We're going in. Full attack. That's in order.
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
Now be safe out there, look out for each other, and keep charging.
Support from listeners like you keeps Now Playing Podcast on the air.
Sir, we need you. We need you now.
You can donate directly by tapping the support button at NowPlayingPodcast.com.
If you can't, who can?
And you can join our crowdfunding campaign for early access to new episodes, exclusive reviews, and bonus reviews available for a one-time contribution.
I may be free of admirers right now, but there's still time.
Need more Now Playing? Subscribe to our In Focus weekly newsletter for exclusive digital download giveaways, celebrity interviews, behind-the-scenes insights, and more. Sign up through the subscribe page on our website and get it delivered to your inbox every Friday.
The fact that you know that infuriates me beyond words.
You can also compare notes with us on Letterboxd. Go to letterboxd.com/nowplaying.
You've got skills, but I have never, ever seen a man waste them like you.
And follow Now Playing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel.
We're looking at the very real possibility that this is legitimate extraterrestrial contact.
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
It's your ship, sir. You're senior officer.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
You got so much potential.
Now Playing is edited by Arnie.
Best cover your ears.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
Do you have anything to say to me? Anything?
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
As of right this second, there's a new dynamic at play. And this dynamic is the following. From here on till I state otherwise, there will be no more debate, no more discussion, no more compromise. It's me speaking, you listening, me saying, you doing. Do you understand that?
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein.
You're a very smart individual with very weak character, leadership, and decision-making skills.
All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review, and no infringement is intended.
Adversity is the state in which man most easily becomes acquainted with himself, being especially free of admirers then.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
It's going to be like Columbus and the Indians, only we're the Indians.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2025, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Turn the damn thing off!
Come on, we're just about there. We are.
Turn it off now!
His last 5 films have all been with Mark Wahlberg.
He didn't do Flight Plan, did he?
No, that was actually Mel Gibson.
Oh, directed that?
Yeah, Mel Gibson directed that.
Oh, okay.
Which Skarsgard is he related to?
Oh, they're all related.
He is the older brother, son of Stallone.
All right.
Older brother of Bill.
Right.
He is not Pennywise the Clown. He's the vampire on True Blood.
And also older brother of Gustav.
Huh? What's Gustav been doing?
Gustav was in Oppenheimer.
I'll take your word on that.
Huh? Man in lab coat? Number 3?
He played Hans?
Oh, of course. I love Hans. Anyway.
And let me just say, I know a lot of people are excited this year because there's a new Naked Gun movie coming out. And Leslie Nielsen is replaced by Liam Neeson.
What?
Liam Neeson is the new Frank Drebin in The Naked Gun.
Huh. Okay. I thought it was Scott MacFarlane. Isn't that his name?
Todd.
No,
Seth.
not Todd. Seth, yeah.
MacFarlane.
Yeah. I thought it was Seth MacFarlane.
He's way too young.
He just must be directing then.
No.
He's not involved?
Doesn't look that way for Wiki. Oh, it's story by Seth MacFarlane. Okay. It's being directed by Akiva Schaffer.
Oh, he must have been fired then. I thought it was when I first heard about it, it was his project.
Okay.